Hello, Jamie from Inky and Scrappy, sharing with you today a double shaker card using some Long Fawn stamps and adding in a stamp from Honeybee Stamps. So I'm starting with the How You Bean jar and the shaker add-on for it. And then I'm taking that cloth piece for on top of the honey pot in the Just Because set from Honeybee Stamps, and I'm going to use that as the cloth on my jam jar. So I had already cut out my jam base here in my last card. And when I had laid out the die cuts for die cutting it, I cut out the J and the M first, and then I had added the A in the middle. And it just so happened that it was wide enough that it fit the whole word, and it looked fairly straight that I could use that piece. So I had already put the adhesive and the acetate sheet behind that, like as soon as I realized it was going to work, because I was like, ooh, that's going to be a shaker element. I am just going in with some liquid glue here on the seams. It helps to keep the little fine glitter in. I have, I don't know, figured out, I guess, because otherwise I end up with glitter everywhere. It's just how I roll. So to line this up, because it is exactly the width of my card base, I'm going to use the Misty here, and I just added a little bit more glue again. So then it will probably, I mean, some of the shaker bits will stick to the corner because it is wet glue, but then it seals it as well, and it makes it so that fine glitter right there will not be seeping out and all over everything. So I'm just putting in some red sequins on top of that really fine gold. It's like a longer glitter. It's not, I don't know, kind of like Jimmy shaped, but it's really fine. And so now I'm going to do the second shaker element. I'm going to do that jar, and I just cut out a piece of single-sided adhesive backed fun foam or craft foam, and then just remove the background strip from the back side, or from the shaker element, I guess, not the inside. So then it's easier to line it all up with that other piece still tucked in there, and then I just removed it once I had it on there. And then I'm going to add the acetate to the front of the shaker window here. And for that fun foam piece, I should have added like the double-sided adhesive sheet on top of it before I die cut it out. It would have made my life easier, but I didn't think about it until after I'd already done it, and then it was too late. So I knew that I was going to have to put glue around it, or double-sided tape around it. So now I'm going to fill that. I'll just put the double-sided tape around it, and I was super lazy with my double-sided tape because it just was being putsy and futzy, and so I just took the tape runner and kind of touched up on the places that I needed to, and then I'm just going to layer in my pieces. So I had colored and die cut them out using the Brother Scan and Cut on the line, but it's not always on the line, as you can see. And then I added in some foam, or some clay strawberry pieces that I'd picked out of my fruit mix, and then adding some micro beads to help move things around in there. And ultimately, I probably should have done 2 layers of foam or glued down those paper pieces, because they do tend to like get stuck on top of each other, and then they don't move around as well with the clay bits in there. So do as I say, not as I do. Just, you know, next time I would probably do 2 layers, or I would tape down the strawberries on the background so they don't overlap and get stuck. So I'm just adding my top to the piece of fabric there, or paper fabric, I guess. And then I will add that to the jar. And then, you know, gotta test out the shaker. And now I'm trying to figure out the placement of my little mice. So when I saw that the little mouse in the overalls had his hand up, and the little girl, or the mouse in the apron, had her hand up, and that they were facing each other, that, hey, they can give each other a high five. And so that was you know, my thought behind that one. But my issue was I didn't realize layout was going to be as frustrating as it was. I thought it needed something else, but I just couldn't figure out what. And so I did end up putting them off to the side. I kind of wanted them on the top or in the middle, but my card wasn't tall enough for them to be on top. And in the middle, they just covered all the shaker bits up, and I didn't want that either. So I figured if I did something on each side, it would balance out my scene and my jar could stay in the middle. I really didn't want to put it off to the side. I'm just adding some pieces from the leftover die cut piece there to just kind of pop up the cloth or the fabric piece. I didn't actually glue it down because I just wanted that stability there. And then I'm just adding my strawberries to my wheelbarrow. And then I ended up stamping and coloring and then die cutting out a new wheelbarrow because I wanted it blue, and then a new mouse in the apron because I wanted it red so it would pop off of that blue background a little bit better. And so this one reminds me of my grandma, Leona, because she would wear an apron whenever we went in the garden to pick fruits and vegetables or around the house. Just, I think it was just that era. Like, that's what they did. And so, and my grandpa always wore coveralls, blue ones. So this is an ode to them, I guess. And so I'm just making sure my shaker bits all move around. And now I'm figuring out my sentiment. And of course I was going to use "You Are Totally My Jam" because I have that big jam on the bottom. So I placed my pre-cut banner in my MISTI on a sticky mat. And then I'm just going to put some double-sided adhesive on the scrap from my fun foam and then cut it out so it will work behind my sentiment strip here. And this makes it the same height as my jar. And I'm using up some of those scraps. And then instead of looking for the little ellipsis piece, I just hand wrote the little dots on there. And then I will add this to my card base after I do the inside. So I did add the tape to this one, and then I decided I should probably do the inside before I put it on there. So I love this sentiment set. I will have to look and see if they still carry it. It is probably one of my favorites for all things sweet and like cupcake stuff, sweet, anything it's just like the perfect stamp set. And then I'm just adding some jam jars towards the bottom, and you can't see, but I didn't line them up perfectly, and so there was a little bit of a gap. So I just took my pen and made a couple of little lines to give my jam jars some bases. And then to color these in, because I wanted some color, and it's not Bristol Smooth, but I did just take out my zigs and kind of colored them in with my zigs, as alcohol ink would have bled through to the back. And then I will take the little jam stamp and just add the little label on top of that. And then I will add the front of the card base, adding a little bit of glue and then doing the little trick of lining it up on the corner that isn't exposed and then pressing it down, and then it works wonderfully. So there is my double shaker card using up that scrap, I guess, from my last card. So thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and I will be back with you soon.